So let's say we know this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And let's say we're told that this side length is 4, the long side or the hypotenuse of this triangle. And from this information and the fact that we know it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle, we can figure out the two other sides without needing the Pythagorean theorem. In fact, at this point, you can't even use the Pythagorean theorem because we only have one side length. But since this is half an equilateral triangle, we know the short side is exactly half the hypotenuse. And from here, if you want, you can use the Pythagorean theorem, or you can remember that the short side is multiplied by the square root of 3 to find the middle side length, the one that's opposite that 60-degree angle. So this is a common scenario where it's helpful to know the relationship of the side lengths in a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And if we look at one other example, let's say we have some other 30, 60, 90 triangle. And let's say in this case, we know this side length here, that this is, let's say it's a whole number. Let's say it's 5. So in this case, it gets a little bit messy because usually the middle side length has a square root of 3 in it. But if we want to go backwards, if we want to, let's say, find the shorter side and then double that to find the hypotenuse, notice that we would divide by the square root of 3. So if we follow that pattern and divide 5 by the square root of 3, we would need to rationalize this. But once we get an answer, we can just double that to find the hypotenuse. So to rationalize this, we multiply top and bottom by the square root of 3. And again, this is just so that we don't have square roots in our denominator. So we get 5 times the square root of 3 up top, and down below we get root 3 times root 3, or square root of 3 times 3, which is the square root of 9. So we get 5 root 3 over square root of 9, which is 3. So this just becomes 5/3 of the square root of 3. And to get our hypotenuse, we're just going to double this. So this would be 10 over 3 times by the square root of 3. And to check that this makes sense, you can use the Pythagorean theorem. If you square 5 and add it to this side squared, you will get the hypotenuse squared. So you can always use the Pythagorean theorem to actually check that you're doing it correctly.